Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, and in our last episode, we met up with a rather unusual couple, and now it is finally time to tell Mr. Natsume that, yes, we will take his case. Or will we? Let's go ahead and hop in and find out, shall we? All right, the 19th of February, Briar Road. We were going to the... It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison. Yes, I know. Let's hail a Oh. What's the matter? It looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garadub's house. What are they doing? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Hey, you calling an old man, you rum-licking niminy-penny? What kind of word is that? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fellow, eh? What are you on about? Excuse me. Eh, what the? Who are you now? I'm sorry. It just looked as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see. Yeah, a lawyer? What? If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I have studied English law. Tisk. Fine, I'll be on my way for today. But you mark my words. This ain't over yet. Get thee to a nunnery. Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you? I don't know what this is all about. What in the world? I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you. I think this might be a guy, but I'm not really sure. What was that all about? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but... Are you a lodger here? In the Garadub residence? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode. Mr. Garadub mentioned he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. I wonder if he's like an actor or something. He seems like he's quoting Shakespeare or something. I don't know. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist of my battle of words ne'er could there be. Sorry, battle did you say? Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night. I see. I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances, at least. So, fair maiden, good gentleman, I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well. All right. I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room. It seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Sosaki-san and that man as lodgers, the Garadub house is certainly full of eccentrics. The landlord's not the least of them. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage now. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return. Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Oh boy, oh boy. All right, 19th of February, 6:31 p.m. Local prison, cell 9. With his little hand symbols. Oh, it's you. You're here. You came. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched. He looks like he's a little constipated. We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh no, think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never failing Nipponese. Oh, now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. Who is this now? There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. I don't know who's speaking. On the other hand, okay. It is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least. It's you. The miserable, rotten spy. Sherlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything per se, save observing, of course. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring. Gloomful room? At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight and cost me not a penny. You! How dare you! Sherlock Sholmes! He's so mad. Ugh. I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean? And there is much truth in Mr. Mustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say, for the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean? Alright, can we find out about, okay, so let's ask about the cursed trial. That's because of the prosecutor, right? Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you said just now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed? Oh no, why? Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it. Oh, I see. That's really agitated him. You don't mean the trial really is cursed somehow? What is Sherlock thinking? Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey? The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me, summarize it succinctly in 16 salient words. No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. Oh my goodness, can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly. Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances. Mr. McGill did. What? I am impressed, Mr. Sato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us. Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zieks killed the man himself. No, he couldn't have, surely. You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. Oh, yes. Why, of course he is. Of course he is. Then why are you trying to scare me? It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. Boy, what on earth do you mean by that? All right, so what is the story of the Reaper? Van Zieks is a quite exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception. That's good. So Seki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated. Right? Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage, by any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposter witnesses, and so on. We experienced some of that. By such underhanded means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury, which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly, from time to time, my dear madam, it is simply the reality of the situation. And that's all right. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they all disappear. It is most striking. Disappear? But how? By all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever. Or perhaps attacked by highwaymen. Oh, no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh boy. He's just like, I knew it. I'm a dead dodo, done for, doomed. All right, what about the cursed lodgings? When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garrideb's house, I assume. Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain. But I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. It didn't take long then. Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn till dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fears wouldn't go away. He's just like super paranoid. You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. Had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now. Yes, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient. The rent is cheap. I have so little money, it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed. Oops." He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late. So I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it. But if not, don't mention it here in the first place." Yes, well said. But it was true. It was all true. You mean the room really is cursed then? Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I awake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. All that. What is this haiku, I think? All the haikus. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really, no one at all. To believe, yes, to believe. All right. Mr. Sholmes? Ah, me, Mr. Naruto. Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Burya, if you recall. The Burya. Ah, that case. The snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story, and you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is why. Why did you believe me? I see, yes, you mean because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with the victim in a locked room. Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. But you suspected me. You must have suspected me a little. He's thinking. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in. What? What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I am concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion. Meaning, whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself. Yes, he's right. He's right. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Whether or not I can believe myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You are so right, Kazuma. He's still cropping up, even 2 cases after his death. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over. The guard should be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? He's like, I would like to. Oh dear, there is never enough time, is there? He just has no words, poor guy. Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial. Something crucial. What to believe in? The defendant, justice, or the truth? How to believe, even. But I think I finally worked it out. I decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow. He's like gonna cry with joy. As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue. Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Those guys. Mr. Sato. Yes? Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court? Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant. She's so cheerful. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind. But it's time to stop looking backwards. Kazuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Sasaki-san has no one. He's all alone. So it's my job to help him, to fight in his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. All right, 20th February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon?
We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right.
Morning. Who is this? Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Oh dear, are you all right? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot.
The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I
Really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Do all literary people take things so literally? Boy.
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume.
All right.
I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble.
Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, welcome student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes?
I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Susato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it?
Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it?
Lord Van Zeeks? Is that right, Miss Susato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one.
I knew it.
Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. Trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers. Mundane. It is the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it.
And it wasn't even a murder, right? She didn't die.
Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you.
Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper.
Please. I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers.
I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that.
Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive.
Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true, I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills or luck. But I promise you this, I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent, non-locum assistant, Miss Mikotoba Esquires.
What a long title.
I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget.
I didn't see the rest of that. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Oh boy. All right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go.
Yes.
All right, here we go. This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. My second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma, because this time I won't let my faith waver. I believe in my client to the last, just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. 20th February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. It looks like different jurors, but we still have Santa. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, ho, 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 I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. And then we have Dracula, of course. Prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Susato-san.
After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
He has to drink his blood. Savor the what is it? Victus, I forget what the Latin term would be. Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end. That guy. So we have a very interesting jury. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. That looks like the banker guy.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear.
Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow.
I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed.
Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Eh? Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, these are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Eh? Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Oh boy, it's Potatoes Guy. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. All right. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Supposedly. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Alright, so the case file has been entered into the court record. It's a file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in the hospital, yet to regain consciousness. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman.
Even the scragged-looking Sasaki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Alright, so the jackknife has been entered into court record. A large but commonplace folding knife that was found lodged in the victim's back. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting secondhand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim. Yes. Exactly. If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, and in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
He's just throwing the whole bottle out now. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. He is nothing if not a drama queen. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. So condescending. Yes, sir. All right, here we go. Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and consequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Okay. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes, I can see the books to which you are referring. We need to check out the evidence. I will take that photograph print as evidence, please, Inspector. All right, so the crime scene photograph has been entered. A photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. Your Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat, denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruto? Well, now you mention it, when we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what all had happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat, she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there, so I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. The green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. All right, so I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Let's look at the court record real fast. I want to see what kind of evidence we have. But this is where the victim was found. Is there anything special about this? I don't think so. Secondhand book receipt discovered. Okay, so we already looked at that one, I believe. File containing an overview of the case. So let's look at this. Details young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. The victim, olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Location, pavement of Briar Road, East Side. Reporting officer, Rolly Beatty. What else do we have? The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other sign of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. All right, let's look at this jackknife. All right, can we open it and see the actual blade? It's dented. Why is the tip is missing? Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo, just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato. I wonder what could have happened to it. I'm guessing it broke off on something, but surely not. I don't know. Yes, you don't think could still be lodged in the victim, do you? I mean, maybe if it chipped a bone, but maybe it hit concrete.
Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful.
All right. Um, I don't see anything else. For a murder weapon, there's an amazing lack of blood on this thing, though. Um, Anything else we can see about it? Okay, nothing out of place. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right. Well, I guess that's that. And let's look at this. Um, okay. Got books here. Is there anything we can tell about the books? Yes. I don't know if there's anything we can discern from this. Does that look like our knife, I wonder? Curious. No? Wait. Okay, those are near the handle. Okay, I guess that would make sense. Okay, that's fine. All right. I have to use the cross examination. All right, so let's go ahead and cross examine and see how we do. Boy, Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog.
Hold it!
Light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog, but in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. Tisk, how quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susada-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Or was it? Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused.
Hold it!
And who reported it? How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. How can there be witnesses if there is nobody around but those two? Make that make sense? Ah, yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. Ah, and the prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement.
Hold it!
From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition, comatose no less? I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she is being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Ugh. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsume's belongings, I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was hoarding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Where is all the blood in this scene? That's what I want to know. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. Shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The books room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Alright, where's the book? Okay, it's right there. The closest secondhand bookshelf to the accused lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end, which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. We'll have to look at the receipt. Was it from Bourbon Books? Something like this. Alright, the local maps information has been updated. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us would turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being the bookshop's name? Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, yes. It could be a very important clue. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord, whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a secondhand bookshop he apparently patronizes. All right, now let me look at the receipts that we got. Your books. Okay. So these are the books that... that's what I thought. Okay. So that's going to be... We're going to present that. If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is the receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 secondhand books. And you found that in the accused room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. The receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Yore, I presume? Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a secondhand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another secondhand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. But it could, depending on where it's located. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Isn't that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Could being the operative word, which is probably going to bite us in the butt because it's never that simple. Inspector Gregson, where is the Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Is it going to be like right here or something? It turns out that Your Books... Okay. It's just here on the next corner of Meersham Street going east. Alright. The local's map information has been updated. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now, Yeah, exactly. He's just like, check. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. Have some blood to your future career in the circus. You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from your books instead of bourbon books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Ugh. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ugh. As I suspected, you can't fool me, and don't suggest you try. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon, terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. She's absolutely right. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Sasaki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but, he could have gone the other way, right? The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Oh boy, here we go. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection.
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Maybe because he's new and he doesn't know his way around? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection.
But, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. Of course. That's right. As I said, the book seems to spend his time outside, wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't I don't believe this. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? Are they all going to vote in guilty now? But even if that is the case, if he doesn't remember what way he went and wanders aimlessly, then he wouldn't know which direction was the shortest path. Exactly. I think he was wandering the long path and just reading a book and not paying attention. I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean we members of the jury are completely convinced now? Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
I always think it's funny how similar I get to the voices. Like in my head, I don't know how it comes across out loud, but in my head it sounds similar to when it finally plays a voice for them. I'm like, yeah, that's what it looked like. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. We got to poll the jury again. And he's just like, game, set, match. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. He's just like, please kill me now. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. Rolling up my sleeves, we're gonna knock this out of the park. So, I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial? Rights of the defense, written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I am all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his onkus refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Oh boy. All right. And that is where we are going to take a pause in this episode. And we will come back next time and figure out, why did the jury vote the way they did? Is everyone just going along with what one person said? Of course, we're going to have a 12 Angry Men situation again, where we have to convince one by one, bring them back to the side of innocence. We will do that in the next episode. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/thehour27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games I play each day, I post them on twitter.com/thehour27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.